Imagine you lend your neighbor some money. Then, one day, he does something you really don't like. So you say, "That's it. I'm cutting you off. No more deals, no more business. You're frozen out." And you feel good about it. Powerful, even. But then, 2 years later, your neighbor is still standing, still eating, still paying his bills. How? That question is at the heart of one of the biggest financial experiments of the 21st century. And the answer? It will completely change how you think about money, power, and the hidden psychology behind economic punishment. In February 2022, after Russia invaded Ukraine, the Western world responded with something they believed would be devastating: sanctions. The idea was simple. You want to hurt someone financially? You cut them off, freeze their money, block their trade, isolate them from the global economy. It made sense on paper. The West froze roughly $300 billion of Russia's central bank reserves, money Russia had stored abroad, just sitting in foreign accounts. Gone. Locked. Unreachable. Major companies started leaving. McDonald's, IKEA, Shell, Apple. One by one, hundreds of brands packed up and walked out. Russian banks got cut off from SWIFT, the international messaging system that lets banks around the world send money to each other. It's basically the WhatsApp of global banking. And Russia got blocked. Western leaders were confident. Some predicted the Russian economy would collapse within weeks. The ruble, Russia's currency, would become worthless. Russia would be brought to its knees. And for a moment, it looked like they were right. The ruble lost nearly half its value in just a few days. Inflation shot up. Russians rushed to ATMs. Store shelves started emptying. It looked like checkmate. But here's where the story gets interesting. Part 1. The ruble bounced back. Within a few months, something unexpected happened. The ruble didn't just stabilize, it emphatically recovered. In fact, by mid-2022, it was stronger against the dollar than it had been before the war. How does a currency bounce back when your economy is supposedly collapsing? Here's the trick most people don't think about. Russia is one of the largest energy exporters in the world. Oil, gas, wheat, fertilizer. These aren't luxury products. They're things the world needs to function. Europe, especially Germany, had spent years building an energy relationship with Russia. Pipelines, contracts, power plants designed specifically for Russian gas. Walking away overnight wasn't just uncomfortable, it was genuinely terrifying, especially with winter coming. Russia understood this psychology perfectly. And so, while sanctions were announced loudly and publicly, the actual enforcement had, let's call it, flexibility. Part 2. The psychology of economic punishment. Here's a psychological concept called the sunk cost trap, and it applies to countries just as much as it applies to people. You've probably experienced this yourself. You've been in a gym membership you don't use, but you keep paying because you already spent so much. Or you stayed in a bad job because you'd already spent 3 years there. That's the sunk cost trap. The more you've invested in something, the harder it is to walk away, even when walking away is the smart move. Europe had spent decades investing in Russian energy infrastructure, pipelines, contracts, power plants designed specifically for Russian gas. Walking away overnight wasn't just uncomfortable, It was genuinely terrifying, especially with winter coming. Russia understood this psychology perfectly. And so, while sanctions were announced loudly and publicly, the actual enforcement had, let's call it, flexibility. Part 3. The Pivot East. But what about the sanctions that did stick, the ones that actually cut off trade? Russia did something smart. They pivoted east. China and India, two of the most populous countries on Earth, did not join the sanctions, and both of them were happy to buy Russian oil at a discount. Think about it from a business perspective. If your usual customers refuse to buy from you, and a new customer walks in offering to take everything you've got at a slightly lower price, you still make money. You adapt. Russia started selling oil to India at roughly $20 to $30 cheaper per barrel than the global market price. India's oil imports from Russia went from almost nothing to making Russia one of India's top suppliers within a year. China did the same, deepening its energy dependence on Russia while quietly expanding trade in other areas. The West had assumed the whole world would follow their lead. They were wrong. And this reveals something deeply important about how global money actually works.
Part 4. The price cap that wasn't really a cap. In December 2022, Western countries introduced something called the G7 oil price cap. The idea was clever in theory. They said, we won't ban Russian oil completely, that would hurt too many people. Instead, we'll set a maximum price of $60 per barrel. If anyone buys Russian oil above that price, they can't use Western shipping, Western insurance, or Western financial services. Since Western companies dominate global shipping and insurance, this was supposed to strangle Russia's oil revenue. And again, it sounded powerful. But here's what happened in practice. Russia, China, and others started building what analysts called a shadow fleet. Hundreds of old tanker ships that didn't use Western insurance or Western companies. They flew flags from different countries. They used obscure intermediaries. They moved oil in ways that were technically outside the cap's reach. It's the financial equivalent of building a secret underground tunnel after someone blocks your front door.